up, everyone? Welcome to, I don't know what we're welcoming you to. It's kind of like a special edition of Parks Talk, focusing on the Adventureland Treehouse, which opens at Disneyland very soon, 1 week from today. But our own Benjamin Breitbart has the opportunity to preview it today. And of course, I'm sure a lot of you have seen that the Disney Parks blog has really previewed it today. They did a full YouTube walkthrough, but we're going to talk to Benji about the experience of actually seeing it. And then maybe Benji can take us through their walkthrough, helping us see what we're looking at there. We also have some images that Disney sent us. And of course, if you have any questions or anything, this is the place to ask them. But let's get started with the most important question of all. Now that you have been there in person, what exactly is the name of this attraction?
Technically, it's the Adventureland Treehouse, inspired by Walt Disney's Swiss Family Robinson. It is, the naming of this is bizarre, in that it's not that when you go there, the treehouse is not, the Swiss family doesn't live there. They wanted a sort of a more accessible family, like, you know, where you can see each other. So I mean, it doesn't mean they're just sort of non-existent. They don't have names. You don't ever see them. You don't know what they look like. I don't know. It seems like it kind of come across like someone had something to say in a meeting and it just didn't pan out. Now, I don't get it. They tried to explain it, and you know, I don't know. They're trying to walk the line of, it was important to them that it paid tribute to the classic Walt Disney attraction, but they wanted to do something new, which doesn't come across in the name. But I mean, I love the attraction. I love the new attraction. So if you can get past the name, which no one's actually going to call, you know, everyone's just going to call it the Treehouse. So in the end, you know,
which is what it's been known as since 1962, I believe, right. Or whatever. It's just the Treehouse, no matter who lives there. So you get to project your own living arrangement there that you want to. Your whatever family works for you is who lives in the Adventureland Treehouse.
Yeah, as long as you have a mother, father, a daughter, and two twin sons. That's the family that lives there now. They're not shipwrecked. They chose to live there. They found a tree in Adventureland, sort of a magical tree in Adventureland. So it takes away that element of it. It takes away a little bit of the peril. You know, it's more of, this is a choice as opposed to necessity. But that's all sort of irrelevant in the end.
What are some highlights? You know, you've of course done the Swiss Family Treehouse, you've done the Florida Treehouse, you've done Tarzan's Treehouse. So what really stands out as being new in this treehouse?
There's so much movement. It feels alive. Like the previous versions always felt Parks Talk featuring Dewey taking medication.
I gotta take it. I'm sorry. It's all normal stuff.
You know, it didn't feel like you're just watching static scenes. Even Tarzan's Treehouse, it had video, but it always, you know, it was Tarzan just standing there being, you know, there wasn't a lot of movement. There's so much movement, whether it's Jane the ostrich, or the organ, the way it moves, all the instruments move in there. Rascal the monkey. The family doesn't have names, but their pets have names. And it just feels alive. And I thought that really surprised me. I guess I kind of figured that this was sort of a refurbished, almost like an overlay, which it still is, but the level of detail here was far surpassed my expectations.
So Disney Parks blog put up a video of a tour of the treehouse at night. It's about 8 minutes long, and let's see how this goes. I'm going to play the video. I don't think there's much really audio on the video, so I'm going to have it muted, and I'm just going to let Benji, who's actually been through it, just kind of not necessarily narrate, but use that as inspiration for aspects of the treehouse he wants to discuss. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's press play.
So you're not going to hear the audio here because I don't even think it's included, but the Swiss Capoca is back, and instead of just reusing the Swiss Capoca sort of classic track, each sort of part of the treehouse has its own version. So when you're so each member of the family has their own sort of passion, right? So the dad's a cook as well as sort of a handyman. The mother is an artist as well as a musician. The daughter is into astrology, and the two kids are into nature and wildlife. So each version of Swiss Capoca kind of, so when you're in the mother's room, it's a very full sound, whereas when you're in the daughter's room and she's looking at space, it's much more ethereal, and the animals trip along while you're with the in the boys' room. So it's definitely it's sort of a more layered experience. Now the water wheel has returned from the classic Swiss Family experience, and they actually went to the Walt Disney Archives and asked Becky Klein, do you have any pictures or blueprints or anything about it? And she says, oh, you know what? I think we have the water wheel itself. So they're actually able to go see the original water wheel. Garner Holt remade it using modern technology and all that stuff, but it's inspired by the original water wheel. And what kind of the water powers everything in the house. So in the mother's room, you see the water actually kind of flowing into the room, but you get the sense there's pipes and everywhere, so you can kind of get the sense that the water's flowing. This magical water is kind of flowing throughout the tree. The magical water being magical because it doesn't really come from any place; it just sort of exists there. This is Father. Now, Father is down on the lower level, and as you can see, this is his kitchen, and there's ostrich eggs from our friend Jane here, who is named after Jane from Tarzan. Not a coincidence, but you can see how everything's powered. And like you say, you can see it definitely comes across as more of a choice. They're not just kind of taking what they can and scrounging from a shipwreck. This is more planned out. Here's Jane the ostrich. She hops around. She's, for being sort of, she's obviously limited. She's not exactly the high end animatronic, but they really get a lot out of her, and I think that's a big plus. I don't think any of the other versions had a legit motion figure in it before. So you can see how everything's powered here once again through the hydroelectric. So you can see that the bamboo style is kind of the water's flowing down in there and kind of powering all these mechanisms. So he's here milling pieces for some other inventions. On the back, you can see blueprints for other inventions. And then you can see sort of a gallery here of the various rooms. The idea being that for guests that aren't able to climb up, they can still see what is up in the treehouse, the different rooms, by seeing paintings of each room here. You can see that. So you see this is the mother's room with the organ and whatnot, and then you go up steps. The family, the unnamed family that lives here, was kind enough to put white safety tape on each step so you don't miss your. And the first room you go to is the mother's magical music parlor. Excuse me, and you can see here. This is the organ here is powered by the water. You can see a little water wheel, like a auxiliary water wheel in the background there. And it's not just the organ that moves. Some of the other instruments move as well. And as you can see here at night too, and I went kind of early in the morning, so it wasn't quite night, but wasn't quite day. You can see here too, Robinson Crusoe. There's Swiss Family Robinson book, Tarzan ape. So Easter eggs already being shown here, and various other instruments as well, and all playing the Swiss Capoca from the Buddy Baker Classic. But yeah, you can see the butterflies moving, the violin going right there. So as I said before, it really just feels much more dynamic than, at least how I remember the Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse initially.
That piano playing Swiss Capoca?
Yes. And this is the area where you get the fullest kind of version of it. Down with the dad's room, you hear the bang of the pots and pans is kind of adding to that level of it. So when Fantasmic returns, you can look forward to hearing a lot more Swiss Capoca while you wait.
Memories.
And this is the daughter's room, where she's an astronomer. And she's a big fan of the Society of Explore and Adventure. She's not a member. She wants to be a member. So you can see a letter corresponding with them. She has SEA books on the table and whatnot down there. And then you have this beautiful sort of, I don't know what you call it, kaleidoscope of light that is quite stunning. And even it reads during the day too. You don't need to be there at night to kind of get the beauty of it, although I'm sure it's more spectacular at night.
Yeah, I was going to mention that this looks like it really takes advantage of, works at night more than the previous tree houses, but you said this does work very well in the day as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's similar to like Moana, Journey of Water, inspired by Disney's Moana. To, you know, it just the what they can do with lighting now just makes things really pop. But you know, the one thing you get during the day is, you know, you get better views of Disneyland as you in the background. But this is for those that are wondering about SEA. This is really the one place it really is prevalent in the daughter's room. Now we're continuing to the boys' room. Here, this is the name of the monkey's Rascal, and you can see there's a dial down there that kind of track like a clock that tracks what to do, and so the monkey is trying to get it to go back to feed monkey. Swinging on it, so you can just see, as I said, you know, just there's a lot of motion. I didn't even notice this when I was in there the first time. And as I mentioned, the Swiss Kapoka here, you're going to hear chirping and tweeting along, not, you know, bird tweeting, not, you know, Elon Musk tweeting.
So much motion and like simple animatronics. What nice changes.
It's a big upgrade from, you know, a burst of air when you try and reach to the saber tooth or whatever it's cheetah. What's the name of that cheetah?
Had a name. Oh, and Tarzan. Yeah,
the boar.
Of course.
Yeah.
I forgot he was from a movie.
So here you go, going down. This is a little nod. Oh, the one thing is I don't want to necessarily reveal it, but there's an Easter egg to Encanto in that in the animal room. This is sort of a closing vignette of a record, kind of a salon where they would hang out. And then you descend back down to the base level at.
Is there a lot to do on the base level as there was in Tarzan's Treehouse?
Yeah, it's a little less interactive, but there's still a lot to see. You know, you're not banging the pots, but there's, you know, obviously you have Jane is down there and the kitchen and such. You know, and I will say, you know, opening day when people are going to wait 2 hours to go on this thing is not what this was meant for. But you know, when it's a walk on like it will be in short order, it's a really nice touch. And I was thinking, you know, it's nice that they put a lot of time and money into something that is, you know, what do we call it? A B ticket, maybe high-end A.
B.
I don't know.
If this is a B, what's a D?
I don't know. I mean, what's a B then?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I went backwards. A is the lowest. Yeah, you're right. A B ticket. It's been a while since ticket books have been around, and I just reversed them. Yes, this is most definitely a B ticket. Most definitely a B ticket.
Yeah.
So these are some shots that Disney has shared during the daytime. You know, Benji was not allowed to take pictures this morning, but we do have some daytime pictures from Disney. There's the treehouse itself. There is Rascal, you said his name was?
The monkey?
Yeah.
Yep.
A good shot of Jane. I love that. I feel very old that they're making a nod to Tarzan's Treehouse, which I remember being at the grand opening of.
Yeah, they kept talking about how outdated it was, and that made me feel really bad.
Doctor's room. Have you said doctor has no name, right? It's just doctor.
None of the family has name except the pets.
That is an interesting choice, isn't it? Back to the external of the treehouse. I'm just trying to see this picture. There's the organ, which I call the piano. I apologize.
I will say too, the one thing that, you know, she did talk about how when they were, you know, they knew it was time to do something, but the space there is pretty compact. So really the only thing that makes sense is a tall treehouse. And they looked at other IP, but there was real passion amongst the executives to kind of pay tribute to the original. So that's how you ended up with this. Not being an Encanto treehouse or I don't know, whatever, Strange World treehouse, whatever else it could possibly be.
We all suspected was going to be happening when they closed Tarzan's Treehouse, whether it would become an Encanto Treehouse. Nope, we got Swiss Family. So, in terms of structural changes from Tarzan's Treehouse, they obviously got rid of that entry section, right?
Right. Yeah. So I think it kind of restored it to how I felt like Swiss Family Robinson feels. You just kind of go up. You don't go up that first sort of staircase. You just kind of go up the tree itself, go to the different, the 3 different rooms and come back down. It feels, I don't want to, it's been a while since I did Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse at Disneyland, obviously, but it feels kind of similar to how I recall the original attraction being, with the addition of sort of that base camp where, where guests with, actually all guests can kind of enjoy a portion of the experience.
And this opens on 1 week from today, Friday, November 10th. I believe there's a magic key holder preview the day before.
Right. And you may see guests kind of walking through. There may be cast previews or some, other things. But
okay.
It's I was happily surprised. I was, I kind of expected Tarzan Treehouse with new branding, so to speak, but this is, this is a new attraction. I mean, it's a overlay, but they gave it the money like it's a new thing, not just, stripping it. Sometimes, when they change it, it just means removing branding or whatever. But this is actually, it's not like for like. It's not, they changed the projection from being Jane sketching Tarzan to Jane sketching a new family. There's new experiences here. And I think yesterday's, reveal of Jane kind of drove that point home. I mean, there's some care put into this.
What do you, as someone who I think has a really good feel of the Disney fan, how do you feel this is going to go over? What do you think the zeitgeist is going to be come next weekend?
Well, I think that people are going to like that it's original IP, in a manner of speaking. I think they're going to be confused by the branding thing, like everybody is. But in the end, because it's kind of like Expedition Everest. You're not going on Everest, yet no one knows that. And you don't need to, you don't need to know what's going on here. You don't need to know if it's based on a movie or not. I mean, I don't think most people get Disneyland guests have seen Swiss Family Robinson. So, I think they will be impressed by, as long as you go in with the right sort of scope. I mean, if you're expecting this to be Tower of Terror, that's not what it is. But I think if you go in with the right scope, as we continue celebrating Halloween here at Laughing Place, what
did you see?
The background.
Oh,
it was I think they should be happy. It's, and I think, by making it a generic family, which is in a way an odd choice, but at the same time, it kind of, it prevents conversations around, what is the family. It takes away the focus from the family and puts it more on their, on what they're passionate about. It doesn't matter, the dad is a character, but he's not present. So it's more about, it could be anyone who likes cooking and woodcraft, or it could be anyone who likes astronomy, or anyone who cares about animals. The character presence is virtually non-existent, besides just sort of making it feel like a family.
Which was also the case for the prior Treehouses, right? I mean, you didn't actually have the mom or Tarzan in the attraction, did you?
No, but they named the family, and I mean, if you knew the film, you would carry that sort of expectation of Tommy Kirk or the rest of the crew there. But this is more of, you can leave to your imagination, the rest of the story of this family, which is a choice. And Um, you know, would I have preferred it if they just sort of recreated the Swiss Family Robinson family? Perhaps, but I don't. It's also not a property that I'm super passionate about. So this allows this family. This is a Disneyland family, and I'm sure as time goes on, this family will flesh out. You know, there will be more. You know, sort of like the Haunted Mansion ghosts. More lore will be created as time goes on. But
bold prediction: will there someday be a movie about this family with characters father and daughter and?
Yeah, and inspired this movie inspired by Adventureland Treehouse, inspired by Walt Disney's Swiss Family Robinson.
Yeah, I would not put it past them. Maybe if they were still making singles and doubles Disney Plus movies, I would definitely take that bet. Benji does have an article on Laughing Place, initial impression of Disneyland Adventureland Treehouse. There's a link for you in the YouTube chat. Hello, Mickey is my spirit animal. Always love to see you in the chat. Anything else you want to say about the Treehouse?
No. Please don't destroy it. Like, don't break it. It's beautiful. You know, tread lightly. I mean, not lightly. I mean, do what you're gonna do, but like, you know, don't rip off pieces.
Yeah. If you want to see it without waiting forever at a leisurely pace, probably give it, I'd say, no more than a week is required before you can take it in at a leisurely pace without waiting a long time. But I expect next weekend it'll probably be,
especially if it being the first week of holiday.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy day at the park. All the vloggers, which we are among them, so I'm not casting aspersions, will be getting their shots and all of that stuff. So, but yeah, much like Moana, or I'm sorry, Journey into Water at Epcot, it is a better experience where you can just walk in there, and I think that's the way it's meant to be experienced. It's just kind of casually stroll in and enjoy.
I'm also curious, because there is more detail, will the guests stroll slower? Or, you know, I feel like the previous version, you're like, yep, that's a bedroom. And then, you know, you keep walking. And, you know, here there's a little bit more detail, a little bit more to appreciate, a lot more Easter eggs.
Obviously, I don't know I feel like, I hope I'm wrong, but I feel like any walkthrough attraction, we're just so used to being taken through an attraction and walking to something that when you're walking, you just keep walking. It takes a lot for you to actually stop and enjoy.
Yeah, but then it just becomes a queue line without a ride at the end.
Exactly. And I think that's perhaps why Walt Disney in his wisdom turned Haunted Mansion into a ride, and walkthroughs were not a common thing for him.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating for a lot more walkthroughs, but you know, this being a classic walkthrough, I think is a little bit different.
Do you think they should have done it like Minions at Universal, where you just stand and it slowly takes you through?
No.
Nothing should be done like that.
I haven't done it, but I've not heard anyone go like, "Wow, that was a great idea."
You know what that makes you? No, not that anyone asked. That is literally the worst attraction in my humble opinion. Anything else you want to?
Even worse than Jimmy Fallon?
Yes, I like Jimmy Fallon. I'm the one. I actually enjoy Jimmy Fallon's Race to New York.
I would like to point out that with this attraction opening, there will be one attraction being developed currently at the Disneyland, or I should say, being constructed at the Disneyland Resort.
Under construction right now.
Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
Oh yeah, how can I forget that? We know the Haunted Mansion stuff is coming. They've announced that.
Well, that's not an attraction. That's like a queue redo.
It's like placemaking. That's the thing.
I mean, yes, but sometimes, you know, I mean, can you imagine that coming soon this summer? Placemaking at the Haunted Mansion.
Remember when Universal had 6 new things and one of them was Jaws on Fire? It doesn't take much to market.
And we mocked that incessantly.
But you're right. So what is next? If we have one attraction currently under construction, which is scheduled to open less than a year from now, right? 2024, late 2024, but they got to be before the holiday season.
Just like nothing says opening up that attraction like the winter.
What is expected to be next?
I will say you get great views of the construction of that from the treehouse.
Oh, I can't wait for that'll also keep the lines up. What do you expect to be the next shovel in the ground at Disneyland Resort attraction?
I mean, of any size, Avengers, the new multiverse attraction. I feel like that. I mean, they have a ride vehicle designed. I think we're just waiting for them to start building the building.
So we're a couple of years away, though. I mean, it takes them forever to build anything. We're not going to have.
Well, I mean, but that doesn't mean there won't be new shows, parades, that kind of thing. We heard that the Lion King show's closing. There's nothing in the Hyperion. Those are sort of easy fill-in gaps when they don't have.
Do you expect the Hyperion just to get the Marvel show back?
I don't know. I wish I knew. I love that show.
So I know this morning was a media event, so sometimes there are opportunities to just ask random questions. Any interesting Q&As occur that you could talk about?
I mean, I think there was, but I think I kind of, a lot of stuff I talked about came out of the Q&A, but and it was, it's to me, it's interesting. I mean, always. I mean, new season Behind the Attraction, like, they don't just say. I mean, Walt did, but after Walt, you don't just say like, "Hey, I want to." But there's a reason they build something, right? There's a justification for it. Whether it's just to have something new, or we want to bounce out the park, or there's a new franchise we want to support, or we need more capacity here versus there. There's always sort of a why to these things, like Big Thunder. Bouncing out Space Mountain and Big Thunder on the other side. And to me, this one was a little bit of a conundrum because we don't get non-IP based experiences anymore. I mean, they just announced Luminous today, what that is. And, it's a lot of, I shouldn't say announced it, they announced the music of it. And, it's once again, Disney music surrounded by, an original theme. We don't do original stuff anymore, for better or for worse. I'm not going to get on my soapbox, but that they were able to build this, a sort of original attraction that's themed to Adventureland itself, is surprising to me, and I'm not against it. I think it's you're not going to see an e-ticket like this, so this is the kind of way to make it happen.
All right. Anything else you wanted to discuss today before we close out?
I have a question for you, and I'm putting you on the spot because I didn't ask you about this. It's not about Treehouse.
Okay.
You're a fan of Castaway Cay, right?
Yes. As much as I can be a fan of not being on the ship when I have the opportunity, yes.
Okay. So today they announced, once again, from the wonderful branding people, Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point, which is a Dr. Seuss book waiting to happen.
Okay.
But, they announced the names of the stores, the dining. Serenity Bay will be there, which I guess is now their brand for adult beach.
Apollo, adult restaurant is Apollo.
Right, but it's weird because remember, like they each had their own name for the buffet, and then like, oh no, we're gonna have it all be cabanas, and then they open up the new ship. Well,
Marceline.
We're gonna make it Marceline Market. You're like, but
I know. I missed what was it? Beach blanket and topsiders. Beach blanket buffet and topsiders. Yeah, I missed those on the original ships. Same place.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was your question?
So they announced it. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but first there's an arrival point, which is a nice touch because I always felt like Castaway Cay doesn't have, you just sort of go like it's sort of a trek before you see anything.
Right. Yeah. The arrival point is walking all the way to the tram or walking all the way to the actual beach, which a decent hike. There's no welcome to Castaway Cay.
So they have Mabrika Cove here, which is I guess based on an extinct language, but it sort of has it kind of, I think, makes the whole point. Like Castaway Cay seems like sort of bohemian castaway. I mean, it's in the name, but it's sort of like almost Swiss Family Robinson, right? Like stuff made. Whereas this feels much more colorful, alive, celebratory in a way.
Yeah, which is what we've heard. They wanted to do this. They wanted this location to celebrate the Bahamian culture.
So you're going to have a cultural center there with music, like a Junkanoo festival. Um, and then there's going to be also a stage called Triton's Trumpet Stage.
The cultural center is Goombay Cultural Center. And then, yes, Triton's Trumpet Stage.
So you know how at Castaway Cay they have those like kiosks of like store like key of local crafts. Well, I guess they're actually going to have a place, like a shop called Treasures of Eleuthera. And then Serenity Bay. What's not listed here, and maybe it's because it was already announced, but the food and actual Disney merchandise locations.
Right. Yeah, this is definitely the leaning into the celebration of the culture. That is kind of the foundation of the theme of this island.
Right. So, I mean, my question really is this different enough? I mean, besides the fact that you're, do what you do and you sort of will do anything once, right? But like, does this draw you to, is this different enough and same enough? I mean, you want to be same enough because it's a private island. There's only, or private location. You only want it to be so different. You want access to the beach. You want to have food. But at the same time, you don't want to just be, Castaway Cay 2, like cookies.
Oh, my question, I'll answer your question with a question. Is Castaway Cay a draw? Is that a reason people take a Disney cruise?
I don't have the data, but I think based off the marketing, they sure talk about it like it's a draw. I hope so. Otherwise, they spend a lot of money getting this thing.
I don't feel I don't feel it's different. I don't think people who love Castaway Cay are thinking, "Wow, I have to go and now check out not Parrot Key. What's it called? Lighthouse Point." I think
look out Key at Lighthouse Point.
They do want to check out, and that's a whole different story. But no, I do not think this is different enough. I think it's great to have a second option. I love a double dip Castaway Cay. Now instead, maybe you can double dip here in Lighthouse, or sometimes you go to Castaway, sometimes you go to Lighthouse. I think it's a good addition, but I don't feel like, oh no, I have to go see this. It does not seem that different to me. And like we talked about with Becky in one of these themes a while ago, are you shocked? I am shocked. Why is Disney not interested in building a true themed destination island like Royal Caribbean has?
I don't know what Royal Caribbean has.
Perfect Day at Coco Cay. Are you really not familiar with Perfect Day?
No.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, keep talking.
Well, I mean, I guess. I mean, there was a decision when cruise line started, at least for the first 4 ships, that it wasn't going to be Magic Kingdom at sea. It was going to be a cruise line. Disney. It was themed to the ship. So I feel like Castaway Cay themes itself to being an island. I mean, that's sort of Paradise Pier level theming thing, but that's the way I think they felt guests, and probably rightfully, at least in 1998, felt they don't want something an island that pretended it was something else.
Oh, I mean, what it pretends it is, it's still a different type of island. It's a basic, it's like a Club Med, like that kind of resort location, but you spend the day there. So there's a lot more to do than just hang on the beach. It doesn't pretend to be a theme park, but it's got lots of huge pool. This is a picture of it. It has a huge pool. It has other kind of beach areas. It also has some incredible water slides. So it's more than just the beach, which is essentially what you do at Castaway Cay, is hang out on the beach and eat. So again, like you said, I understand that thought in 1998, but cruising, in large part due to Disney, has changed a lot since 1998. And I feel like I'm surprised Disney isn't interested in staying more ahead of that curve.
Well, I also don't know, given the sensitivities, if they could do something like that, sort of de-islandify the island. This isn't. And Disney intentionally just uses a sliver of Castaway Cay because, for preservation's sake. And I don't know exactly what is on, yeah, I mean, there's no pools, there's beach, but there's no pools. It seems like there has more performance space in this new location than there is on Castaway Cay, so you can have that. But I mean, they have Pelican Plunge.
Yeah, which is fun. It's a slide, two slides.
I wouldn't want this at a Disney Island. This just looks like Raging Waters.
Yeah, I think a lot of guests do. I think this is huge for Royal Caribbean, and I don't think, and Becky, who we've talked to, I mean, Becky, in as polite a way as she can, but she books a lot of Disney and Royal Caribbean, and she hears from her guests that do wish that Disney had a little more going on their private island.
Well, I will say, not necessarily on the island, but I do feel that Disney Cruise Line could step up, be a little bit more inventive and innovative. I feel like they were when they started, and they were for a couple of years after that. But I feel like they really got in a rut.
It's easy to do when you sell out every cruise,
right? And there's not. I mean, and that doesn't mean to say they're not constantly making new shows and experiences and things like that. But in terms of a wholesale revitalization of what it is, that hasn't happened. I mean, and probably won't happen on an older ship, but on the newer ship, the decor changed dramatically, but I don't feel the experience change. It's still 3 restaurants. It's still basically, outside of sort of more space dedicated to the concierge, it's basically the same thing.
And the upscale shops.
Yeah, and I feel like there's an opportunity there to really, and I don't have the answer because I'm not an Imagineer who's as inventive, but it's been a while since they've done something where I go, wow, that's really game changing.
Right.
And
which is unlike other cruise lines. Their competition is continually game changing, even when it comes to attractions. I mean, the Aqueduct was incredible, and then the Aquadunk, and then, in my opinion, Aquamouse is really good. I love the Aquamouse, but when you look at what's happening on other ships with whether it's go-karts or an effective coaster that kind of goes over the side of the ship, or the I can't remember what it's called, but some of the Royal Caribbeans now have the giant observation tower, which literally goes over the ship and kind of goes out over the water and gives this great view. Ice skating, bumper cars. Not that I necessarily want Disney to create those mega ships, but just in terms of amenities on the ship, Disney has most definitely been caught and even surpassed.
Yeah, but I also don't want them to do that. I want them to do something that's unique to them. Like I don't want go-karts on the ship. I mean, that's just that. I don't want go-karts anywhere near. I don't want the Autopia even. I think you need to find something that uses. I mean, because they're the only cruise line that actually builds rides. So I think I want something that is special that only they can do. I mean, like the fireworks were when they launched that was a big
deal. I 100% agree. I'm just saying that the competition has surpassed what they're doing, and it's even more incentive, I would think, for them to, okay, well, let's show you what Disney can do.
Yeah, but I
not
also
the
think,
copy.
I don't think it's that the public is viewing the ships as not a destination, because they're doing very well from a business side. And I think when you see the innovation come from cruise line, it's when they're not selling out, right? The early years when they weren't selling out, that's when they did all sorts of things like free soda, fireworks. Like that's when that all started. And even when they would change, if they have a port that's not doing well, that's when you get stuff like Marvel Day at Sea and Star Wars Day, or Pixar Day at Sea, which I think are great. I love those. I think that is perhaps
that is the big innovation they have made.
Yeah.
And it's something that only Disney can do, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think they're, sort of just like any business, they're going to invest where there's growth. There's not growth in the cruise business right now because they don't need it. What I don't know is when 2 more ships come online, will they need to get will that kind of kickstart their thinking? Obviously, we know what the Treasure is going to look like now. Presumably, the other ship will be somewhat similar, but maybe they, just because the guts are the same doesn't mean they can't innovate. And then, obviously, the Adventure will be completely different.
I don't even consider that in the same because
but I think by having a mega ship, even if it's not part of the sort of main line, they may be able to innovate there and bring those learnings to, maybe at a smaller scale, but bring those learnings to.
I want to give credit because while it's not my cup of tea, I've heard really wonderful things about Uncharted Adventures, their interactive game on the Disney Wish. Uncharted
Adventure.
Oh, okay. You're shaking your head.
No, I'm shaking my head because it was miserable. I mean, it was fun, but it kept.
I know it's had tech issues, and those tend to get resolved. But I listened to some cruise podcasts, and I've heard more recent stuff that it's basically been resolved. And people, it's kind of like the Muppet. I just forgot the name of it, but
Mickey's Detective Agency.
Yeah, Mickey's Detective Agency, but taken to the next level, and I've heard some positive things about it. So
I enjoy it when it worked. Like when we tested it, and it worked because it was, they made it work.
Yeah.
I just was disappointed when I did it as a guest, and it kept crashing, losing my spot, and Alex completely lost his place, and it's frustrating because he ran around this whole ship, and then
and it was late, and obviously tech issues. But presuming they get those ironed out, I do think that is a good Disney innovation, but I really feel like they are missing, and I don't know what it is. They're more creative than me, but they're missing. They're not going the way of having the boardwalk and the carousel and all that, and that's good. But I feel like there just needs to be something always there that you can do on the ship, like Uncharted Adventures, like Aquamouse, but the next thing. And
I agree with you. I just don't know what. I mean, obviously it's harder because we can't. If we had the answer, then we would say, why aren't they just doing this? But I don't think either of us had the answer. But that's Imagineering's remit to do it.
Maybe a casino. Maybe a casino is the answer.
No. Well, bingo.
Hey, Mikey.
Dude, but he's like 47 now.
Don't say that.
I'm really curious to watch the cruise line business evolve. Obviously, the Wish also came online during COVID, and as the business continues to evolve, as they keep redoing ships, as they keep redocking, what's the next innovation from them? I'm curious, not because I think that they're in trouble, but I'm just excited for what the future could bring for that business.
Right. Okay. Talk cruise line all day long. Oh, we had a question here. Are you both going on the maiden voyage of the Disney Treasure? Benji,
not
are
a
we
chance
going?
in heck. No. I mean, it's not unlikely that we'll have a chance to kind of get a sneak peek of the ship, but maiden voyages are guest events, and I don't want to get in the way of guests.
Light thing to say, Benji.
What's that?
Yeah, I would love to go on a maiden voyage. I would love to be sent on a maiden voyage sometime to experience it. If I'm going to spend my hard-earned money, there's no way I would pay the upcharge for a maiden voyage for an experience that is not the exact experience I personally would be looking for. So.
Well, I mean, the thing about a maiden voyage, I mean, obviously it's special to be on there. They usually bring in special entertainment. I get that. But you're talking about you're paying extra for a ship that isn't quite, I mean, of no fault of its own, is still going through its paces, so to speak, in terms of, when you're on a maiden voyage and you order a drink off the menu, always make sure you can point, and so that the person can look and be like, what's that? They obviously aren't familiar with the menu a lot of times yet. I'm a big fan of either doing it a few weeks or months after the initial maiden voyage. I just feel things are running a little smoother by that point.
Yeah. And hopefully we will have that opportunity. Mickey is my spirit animal. All right, but I think we're done.
Sounds good.
Thank you for the Treehouse preview.
My pleasure.
And I think the next opportunity to see us live will be tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, where we'll be doing Disney Trivia Live. We'll be doing 2 contests, and our second contest will be experimenting once again with our using the chat instead of lpquiz.com. We had a lot of fun with that last Saturday. I think it went over well, so check that out. And then Monday, we'll be back with Disney Parks Talk Live, where we will talk more about the Treehouse and more about Lighthouse Point and all the other theme park news from the week. So until then, see you later.